This episode is proudly brought to you by Kratzmann Caravans RV Super Centre. Look, out there on the Bruce Highway at Burpengary, don't trust me. Trust every single person that's bought a Kratzmann Caravan. They're still pulling them around Australia. The best caravans in the land. Their RV Super Centre is unbelievable. They've got RVs, caravans. You just need to tell them you listen to Inside Ball and head out there to Burpengary to go and buy yourself a caravan today.
All right, welcome back to the round 18 review of the Inside Ball. Kevie, I'm back in the hot seat today.
Where's Dobbo, Duff?
Yeah, mate, I don't know.
Mate, he's late, so we're going to start without him.
Start without him, yeah.
Bugger him.
We're sick of waiting
Get
for him.
yourself on time, Dobbo, or don't come at all, mate.
That's it. Your days are numbered, Dobbo. I was telling him, I was on his show on Friday on Triple M, and I said, your days are numbered, man. I'm coming for you. So
you are coming for him. Well, you're hugely successful in your own
I don't know about that. Yeah, thank you very much.
So,
it's great to be back, and a huge weekend of footy, mate.
What a weekend of footy. Some upsets. What about the Broncos on Friday night? I actually went down for that game.
Yeah, that was the first thing I wanted to ask you. Tell us, before we get into the actual Broncos game, tell us about being there as Bill's father for his 100th.
Yeah, it was great, Das. Look, the whole family were down there. We got to the stadium nice and early, and we, making our way into the stadium. There was lots of Bulldogs, obviously, supporters around, and they were pretty lippy towards myself.
Of course, they always are down there.
They are lippy. And then, we found our seats all right. So we're sitting right amongst the Broncos. So the away seats at Accor Stadium are on the opposite side of the field where the players run out. And, the away team gets, I don't know, about 30 or 40, how many seats? And the players' partners or friends or whoever, family, can sit in those seats, all right? As an NRL player, you get...
certain allocation,
6 seats, and then you can swap with players, and so if you've got a big contingent coming, you can get more tickets. So we're sitting there. There's some Broncos people there, some of the families and whatnot, but mostly Bulldogs fans, and they spotted me, of course, because I had the Billy
I was
shirt
going to say,
on.
I saw a photo of you all after the game. Was that where you were sitting?
That was where,
because I was thinking, geez, they're in the thick of it there.
We were in the thick of it, right? So, and we're having a couple of beers, just enjoying, Billy's 100th NRL game. And then the game starts. Well, they get out to 18-0, the Bulldogs. And the Bulldogs, they all kept going at me like this. You got nothing, Broncos, whatever. And so every try they scored, I copped that. And I just sat there patiently and just didn't return serve at all. And then the Broncos made a comeback, didn't they?
Yep.
It was so good being there, for Billy and with the family as well. Made it really special. And when they come back and they got in front and then they won.
Billy's try? What about that?
Billy's try, mate. We just erupted. As did, the Broncos fans took over.
Mate, I was at Broncos Leagues Club and it erupted there as well.
The Broncos fans took over. Like the Bulldogs, that's what happens when your team plays well, and it was a 14-minute blitz from the Broncos. All those, and Ezra, man, what about his form in the game? So after the game, Billy and the players, come over and see all the fans and family and whatnot, and Billy jumped up into the, we were 20 rows back. So he made his way up, still in his kit, and we got a photo. It was a really, really good moment for the family. Billy's kids were there as well, and his wife, Rach, Hugo and Daisy were there. They loved it. It was a really special night.
Yeah, I'm sure there's been a lot of sacrifices made by the whole family for Bill's journey. So
everyone plays a part, not just the family, but, his junior coaches, his coaches at the Storm, his coaches...
all his old schoolmates.
Everything shapes, players' career. And we're really thrilled for Bill, really proud of Bill. But it was just a nice win as well, for the Broncos, particularly down in Bulldogs territory, where they had the game won, really.
Yeah.
And they stuffed up their second half with some errors and ill discipline. And the Broncos, to their credit, were good enough to pounce on it.
Yeah.
It was a good win for the Broncos. That's 2 like that now,
I know, yeah, come from behind.
Yeah, the Cronulla won as well. They probably shouldn't have won that game, but it's put them in a good position now. They're sitting in 5th. And, obviously after the game, the kids went into the dressing room. Narelle and I went home, but they all went in there and had a bit of a beer and whatnot with Bill and the team. So it was a good night.
You talked about, the fans maybe giving it to you a bit and you holding back. Did you return fire when Billy scored that try?
Humble in defeat, humble when you win, Das. And but I couldn't find them anyway. The blokes there was 5 or 6 blokes that every time they scored or as a penalty, they'd turn around and just
just
fun
all
stuff.
in the fun of it,
fun
course,
stuff.
Yeah.
And then they just in the second half, I couldn't see them, I couldn't find them. But it was a really good night, and particularly for Bill and the Broncos, they fought back well. Which puts him in a pretty strong position now in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, we'll get to that game in a minute. But the other big talking point from the weekend I wanted to chat to you about, Kev, is Reid Mahoney to the Cowboys.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, I like it a lot as well.
I like it from the Cowboys' perspective. He's a very good player. Yeah, I'm not sure why he's been squeezed out of the Bulldogs, because let's remember, now he was playing with the Eels a couple of years ago and they made him an offer, right? He actually got Reid Mahoney we spoke to him as well at the Broncos about coming north, and he elected not to. He took the option at the Bulldogs. So he went there when things they were pretty
not great.
Dire. They weren't great. They were bottom 4 of the table, and he went there and he's lifted them. I really like what he does. I know he's one of those players that always gives 100%. If you look at when the opposition are scoring runaway try, he's always in the picture, a bit like Payne Haas. So his competitive nature is very inspiring. And he's a good player. His dummy half passing, his skills around the dummy half are very good. I just don't know why the Bulldogs let him go.
Well, he's been talked about in the Origin arena for a little while.
Yeah.
When you think about they got Ben Hunt and Harry Grant there. That's the only reason he hasn't really got a run at Origin level. So.
And if something did happen to Harry Grant, he would be the next man up, surely.
Yep.
I find it's a bit strange from the Bulldogs to not offer him a new deal. But again, I'm not in the club, and they've obviously got a philosophy on where they're heading, and their plans don't involve him, which is pretty sad, really. But that's rugby league, and I think the Cowboys will be a good home for him back in Queensland. He's a good Queensland kid from Caboolture, so that's next year. But they got to manoeuvre their way through this year yet. The Dogs, and I'm not so much worried, but the last couple of weeks haven't been great. I know they had a win when Lachlan Galvin first arrived, but I just don't know where that fits for this year in the picture.
Yeah, it's tricky, very tricky. I think talking about Reid Mahoney there, you mentioned that he sort of came when the club wasn't great, and it seems like there's a lot of players who have sort of ridden out that
the tough times,
the build, and now all of a sudden they're going all right and they're making all these changes and calls. It seems interesting to me, but I don't know.
Yeah, and you got. What's the Sexton. Toby Sexton's he signed with the Catalan Dragons, which is like surely there's an NRL club somewhere that's screaming out for a halfback.
Top of the table halfback. Yeah,
and he's since Galvin has come into the squad, he's gone to another level again, saying, well, you're coming in, you're going to have to fight to get this spot off me, which I think it shows great character, it shows great mental strength as well, and also the ability that he can play. So the Dogs have lost 2 in a row now. And, everyone's talking about Galvin and where he's going to play. Well, I think that they need to sort that out sooner rather than later. And I'm not saying, I think the Bulldogs can still finish off the season really well, and they've been very good for long periods, but they need to sort out what they're doing with it. Seraldo needs to sort out who's playing where, and, I guess honesty is the best policy when it comes to that, because they've got a very strong squad, good depth, the Bulldogs, and they need to use that squad appropriately for them to, get into the finals. So, they're obviously playing finals, but, be there.
Be competitive.
At the last dance.
Yeah.
And,
I agree.
On Friday night, they capitulated.
Yep.
Against the Broncos. So, they need to fix up their defence, and they need to, get back to that Bulldog style of football that we know they can play.
So, getting into the round in the first game, I wanted to talk about is the Bronx 22 defeating the Bulldogs.
Yeah.
Great come from behind win. Mate, as a fan, looking from the inside out, obviously depleted through injuries and a few late, and then all the boys out with Origin. When we went into halftime, what was it, 16 or 18-0?
16-0,
Yeah,
I think,
16-0, yeah. You're sort of going, this is, not the greatest, but I was thinking, how much do we really read into this with everyone out? But then the other side of it, seeing them come back out in the second half and win like that. I don't think I've seen the Broncos that excited about a victory in a long time.
No.
When Piakura scored that try, they're all just yelling in each other's face.
Yeah, well, they were giving it to Ezra Mam, the crowd.
Yeah.
Every time he touched the ball, they were booing him. Now that's great, Bulldogs fans, but that also inspires. Ezra Mam's, he's a tough little bugger. So that, to me, would have given him energy, and I'll show you in a kind of way, which he did. His first half, he was a bit off. He threw a couple of wayward passes. But the second half, he got his stuff together, and he was brilliant, Ezra, along with Billy. I thought Billy, when he came on as well, I think it was a big turning point. And Ezra just got into the game and made the Bulldogs fans pay, didn't he?
Yeah, I love him. Like, he's one of my favourite players, but he's just so tough. It's almost like he loves contact.
Yeah.
Like, he loves putting on the big hit and
Well, he does.
running the footy. Like, yeah, I'm a massive Ezra fan.
He's got a huge future in the game, Ezra, and he's had his troubles off the field this year, but he seems to get on top of that now, and he is playing some good footy, which is great to see from the Broncos.
Yeah, big time. Do you think a win like that when we are down on troops brings the team together?
Yeah, certainly does. There was a game against the Bulldogs a couple of years ago in 23. I elected not to play the Origin players, left them at home, and we beat the Bulldogs at Belmore, and it really did galvanise the side. So you'd expect a win like that will help us lift the spirits. They've got 3 in a row now, the Broncos, so they're travelling well. But we've seen this year, Das, so many teams they get on a bit of a roll and then they drop again. And it's only a win or two that can, if they lose a couple of games, that could be out of the 8 again very quickly. And likewise, teams, like we see Manly, they've got on a bit of a run. They've won 2 in a go, so they're nearly back in the 8. So it's going to be a great finish to the season.
It's so congested still.
That final push for I think the top 4, maybe the Warriors may drop out, and I think one team can sneak in there, maybe the Broncos into that top 4. But 5, 6, 7, and 8. It's just it's an
Anyone's
open house.
game. Yeah, and
It's an open house.
I know you yourself and Dobbo have mentioned it before, but this could be the first year that we see someone from outside the top 4 win as well.
Particularly if a Penrith, the Roosters weren't that. We'd probably get to that game a little bit, but they were a bit off yesterday. But they had a very young side, 2 players on debut, so that made it difficult for them. But yeah, look, it's still wide open. Even the Melbourne Storm, who are the favourites with all the betting agencies, they're no sure thing either. They've been inconsistent as well.
Yep, and the Raiders still sitting pretty at the top. I was going to actually ask if you think the Broncos can make the top 4. Like, I think the door is slightly ajar.
I haven't looked too much in depth on who they're playing, and nor the other teams as well. But if they play their best football, they can make the top 4. But they have to play their best football
and keep the momentum going. I think they've got the Titans this week, which I'm sure you guys will chat about on Thursday. But
yeah, we'll talk about that more on Thursday. But it's a danger game for the Broncos.
Yeah, it's a bit of a hoodoo team, I feel like, the Titans. I'm never confident going. No. Especially, I think it's down there. So.
Well, last year, things didn't work out too well. We got some injuries in that game as well. I think Dave Fafita might be back this week as well. I'm not sure.
Scary thought.
I just heard some whispers. So, yeah, look, it's going to be a huge finish to the year for not just the Broncos. Still got the Cowboys in contention. The Dolphins are right in it. What are they sitting in 7th position?
I don't know how they keep winning, but I'm loving it. The Finns,
Well, they've had the bye, haven't they, on the weekend, so they'll be refreshed and ready to go. Cody Nikorima obviously be out with that hamstring injury, but they got options there still with their depth at the Dolphins to really finish off the season strongly.
Yep. Next up, Raiders 28, Dragons 24.
Yeah.
I was expecting a bit more of a blowout from the Raiders, if I'm honest. But
yeah, well, they got away to a good lead, didn't they? And then the Dragons sort of fought their way back in the second half. But I just think the Raiders did enough at the moment to win that game. After the game, Ricky was happy with the win. I just think it's important to ask this time of the year that you just keep banking those wins. They've still got 2 byes, haven't they? The Raiders
sitting pretty in first place.
They could finish the season, in first place, which again it's a great achievement, but it doesn't mean much, except for your home final, which is a big one. But then you've got to still play the football against those, the good teams to win it. But I think the Raiders can win it. I really do. They're one of the teams that I do think can win it. But we're still a long way out, so it's hard to make predictions just now.
They were favourites for the spoon at the start of the year. So
not in my book.
No, definitely not. So
what about your book? Do you have
no, I didn't have them as favourites for the spoon. No, but I will admit that I didn't think they'd be going as well as they currently are. So.
Yeah, I'm not sure who. I'll have to go back through my records to see who I did have as the spoons, but I didn't I can't remember.
Didn't make sense to me that the Raiders were down there though.
No, and they showed everyone, didn't they, in round 1?
Yep.
over in Vegas, that they were not to be messed with. That was a great performance by them over there. They got a win up, and they've been winning it. That's 14 wins and 3 losses over the season.
Yep. Yeah, they're going very well. Moving on, we saw the Cowboys 20 defeated by the Storm 26.
Yeah, this was unlucky for the Cows. I thought they did enough to win the game. And after the game, I always listened to the coaches' press conferences, and Todd Payton was concerned with a couple of little errors that they had in their game, which opened the door up, for the Storm to pick up points. And then they fought back well. I thought they might have been able to sneak a victory, but then the Storm scored 2 tries. Nick Mahoney was very good, wasn't he? Picked up a couple of tries. And Craig Bellamy in his press conference post-game, he was happy just to go up there and get the win. He understands, how hard it was. He had a lot of disruption to their teams through the week. Pappenhausen pulled out, the day before the game. So, but they did enough to win the Storm, which is all you have to do this time of the year. One more game, Origin on Wednesday, and then everyone's focus will be back on the NRL, and I think we'll see the real title contenders stand up, and I expect the Storm to be one of those.
They're such a strong outfit. Just
their depth is very good.
Yeah.
Their depth is very good, and that's what you need. You need your squad of 30 plus your training trials and your development players all to come together to have a successful season, and that's what the Storm has done. That's what they did on the weekend as well.
They seem to always bloody do that as well.
Yeah, they're a good side, mate.
Very good side.
Well coached, and their recruitment. Paul Bunn is the head of their recruitment. He does a great job ensuring that there's good depth in the squad, making it competitive. Jonah Pizzette, mate, he's come back from another minor knee injury this time, which is great news for him. He's a good young talent. Keep an eye on him. He's one the Storm think can really come through and blossom in the halves. Another good Storm halfback.
Yeah,
Jeez.
just what we need.
Just what we need.
The Broncos, I think, play the Storm in round 27, and
they're going to play him twice in the run.
Do
home.
that in the run home. Oh,
Yeah.
jeez. Well, my best mate Clutzy's a Storm supporter, so
Right, so he'll be on.
Oh, mate, it's always and he gets in my head. He's very, very.
Don't listen to him, Das. Well, the Storm have crunched the numbers on the Broncos the last couple of years. For a long time now, but it may not be the same story at the end of this year.
We need to keep this momentum rolling.
Yep.
Anyway, moving on. The Roosters 28 beaten by the Tigers yesterday. I was listening on the radio on the way down from back home from Caloundra.
Yeah.
Sounded like a great arvo of footy down there.
Yeah, it was. It was very good. I actually was in the studio for this game, and the Tigers just started well. So much pressure. They had lost 5 in a row. The Roosters, some key players missing and a couple of guys on debut. They've debuted 8 players this year, which is the most of any club, the Roosters. So it is a new year for them. Tedesco was sick all week with the flu and whatnot. So, but it was a good win by the Tigers. And Benji Marshall sort of vented a bit after the game with a few things. And I've got to support him here. When you're losing like that, and every coach and every team goes through it, it just becomes hard. And it's a big pile-on by the media, and he said on the podcasts, and we've been pretty kind to the Tigers. We haven't sort of attacked them too much, but they've been under pressure, and there's stories going around about Benji tackling players at training, and it's just garbage, really. And it was good for him to get the win. The brothers, the Fayunu brothers.
That's what I was going to ask you about. Playing with your brothers, what's that like? They all scored a try too.
Yeah, that's very cool. The family would be very, very, very happy. Not all 3 of us got on the field at any one time. I think we played a match in Ipswich in lower level competitions. Kerrod and I would have been the youngest. I think we got 4 of us on the field at one time.
How good's that?
Which was good, but we didn't all score tries. That was amazing, the way the 1, 2, 3 of them picked up the tries and the win as well.
Yep.
You could see the relief on the players and on Benji Marshall. They just needed to get a win for their own, confidence, their own self-esteem, and also the supporters of the club and fans. They'd be very happy with, ending that losing run. It was horrible.
Yeah, as I said, I listened to it on the radio. I didn't see it, but it sounded like Dewey had his hands on everything.
Dewey was good.
Yeah.
He's a good player, Dewey.
Especially after, you mentioned all the talk about what happened at training with him and Benji and stuff.
Yeah, well, that was apparently that was all just garbage,
of course.
And Dewey has
that's Dobbo, bloody just,
Dobbo,
peddling.
see, that's why stay in Sydney, mate, Look, after the game they interviewed, is it Latu Fayunu?
Yeah.
So, and he was very happy to be playing with his brothers. They played, 2 of them had played a bit of football together. It was the first time that 3 of them had really, scored the tries the way they did and had the win. So they'd be a very happy family, waking up this morning with the Tigers' victory and them all picking up tries as well.
Yeah, beautiful. How good. And rounding out the round of footy, Manly 30 defeated Souths 12.
Yeah, I like this game from Tommy Turbo. He's back. He's picked up a couple of tries. He's starting to get some tackle busts.
One of his tries, he made it look so easy.
Yeah, well,
he just
glides.
Yeah,
he glides, mate. Yeah. Yeah, his first try, he had to do a bit of work in the first half, but the second half try he got showed, where he's at. I think he's starting to free himself up a bit, which, the move, Anthony Seibold was criticised a little bit from some quarter. I thought it was a good move, moving him from fullback to the centre, just relieved the pressure, let him just get back to enjoying his footy. And Lehigh Upawati has been sensational at the back. So, Manly were under pressure. They were talking about Anthony Seibold losing his job 2 weeks ago, and now they're
making a push for the 8. Yeah,
they're making a push for the 8, and I think they've got a pretty good run home too, the Manly club. So another team that can push, easily get into that 8 at the end of the year.
Yep, and some unfortunate news. We saw Brandon Smith go down with a knee injury in his return game. Well, his first game for the Souths, but yeah. Yeah,
I was a bit surprised to see him take the field, but I guess they're pretty desperate, South Sydney. What are they sitting 16th now?
Yes, yeah, I think, yeah.
And they're equal last, aren't they?
Yeah, I think so. I'll quickly pull it up to have a look.
With the Titans, I had a look this morning. So they've lost 6 in a row, South Sydney, but they've had some injuries, and Origin sort of hit them a bit as well. But yeah, they're struggling, South Sydney. And now with the injury there again to Smith, what's he out for 6 to 8 weeks? With
you got a feel for him. I don't know if you saw the clip of him receiving his jersey. He was emotional.
Yeah, right. Yeah, well, it's been a long road for him, hasn't it?
Yeah.
I was very fortunate in my career to not have any serious injuries, put me out for long periods of time. But you can understand the emotion, and he's changed clubs mid-season, and now he's injured again. But Wayne Bennett, listening to him in his presser after the game, he said, there's a bit of light there where it's not a long-term injury. It's, 6 to 8 weeks. Is it worth bringing him back this year? Well, that's a decision that South will have to make in the next few weeks. If they can still make the 8, but they need to probably win nearly every game.
Yep.
So, stranger things have happened.
Yeah, absolutely. Mate, looking at the NRLW, great week for Broncos supporters.
Yeah.
All over. Bronx 28 defeated the Tigers 4.
That's right. It was a good start for their season, round 1. They played some good footy.
Yeah.
I thought the Tigers did really well. They saved about 4 or 5 tries just by
holding the ball
up, over the line. But the Broncos, to me, looked always, in control.
Charge,
Ali Brigginshaw, pulling all the strings in there. Their forwards were strong, and their backs they had one young girl on Dobbo. She scored a couple of tries on Dobbo. So it was a good win by the Broncos. I expect him to be there when the whips are cracking in the NRLW, particularly with Tamika Upton at fullback. She brings a lot of experience, a lot of speed, a lot of game skill. She's one of the elite players in the NRLW, and she's playing for the Broncos, so I expect them to have a really strong season.
Great to see her in the Bronx jersey. And there had to be a Queensland loser out of the Cowboys and Titans game, but the Cowboys 20 defeated the Titans 6.
Yeah, the Cowgirls.
Cowgirls, there you go, yeah.
That was played up before the men's game up in Townsville in front of a good crowd. It was a sellout up there.
They love it up in Townsville.
Oh, yeah. Well, they're trying to get behind their team, and obviously the in the NRLW, the girls did really well. Good, strong performance over the Titans. So they look to be a team that's on the move as well. They might be our Kratzmann team on the move.
The team on the move, there we go.
Is the North Queensland women's team, because they showed some really good signs up there, Das. So they'll be able to mix it with the better teams as the season progresses.
That's a great news as a Queenslander. You talk about a team on the move, and usually we'd throw to you for your player on the move, Kevie, but I don't think this week...
hang on, you got in the chair.
I'm taking control,
You're taking control,
I'm taking control.
Right.
So obviously Kratzmann, a big supporter of the podcast, head up to their RV Super Centre at Burpengary for all your RV needs. But I think our player on the move this week's got to be Billy Walters, mate.
Oh, is it? Yeah, okay.
I think he's in some of the best form he's ever been in.
Yep. Playing good footy. Well, good belief in Bill. What do you like about his game?
Well, mate, as you said, we sort of just turned and we have that momentum rolling, and I think it's just Billy coming on. He seems to just ignite them a bit when he comes off the bench.
What I see in Billy's game is that he's a smart footballer, so he knows when and where and who to pass the ball to at the right occasions, or his own game. One of the things that's difficult as a hooker, Das, particularly in our team like the Broncos, is who do you pass the ball to?
When everyone's yelling at you.
When everyone's yelling at you. You've got good options there to pass the ball to. So part of your decision making in that jumper is to get the ball to the right people in the right moments, and I feel like that's what Billy does really well. And you've got to be a little bit unselfish in there as well. And sometimes there might be a little opportunity for yourself to do something, but you've got to pass the ball to Reynolds or Walsh or Carrigan or Haas.
Yeah, a few handy players out the back calling for it. Yeah,
Cobbo or whoever. So it's not an easy role in the 9 jumper, but I feel the 1-2 combination of Corey Pakes and Billy's they're both doing a really good job. This week though, Ben Hunt will be back.
Yeah,
so one of those two won't be there.
Yeah,
that's a given.
Very interesting to see when the team.
So it will be interesting when the team comes out, because it's a great luxury, for the Broncos to have someone like Ben Hunt that's got to drop back into that side.
Crazy, yeah.
And then you got Carrigan, and you got Haas coming back, and Shibasaki. Come on, boys.
Do you think it's worth any of the Origin boys having a rest this weekend after Wednesday? I know you probably talk about it on Thursday, but
depending on how Wednesday night goes.
Yep.
Yeah, that's got a big say in it. I guess it's in the players' hands really, what they feel they'll all want to play.
Yep.
So I'd expect them to be, particularly against the Titans.
Yeah.
The
bye the week after as well.
Yeah, they get a rest then.
Yeah.
So I'd expect them all to be playing.
Yeah, but I think Billy's got to be player on the move, mate. You should see. I know you've got nothing to do with our social media accounts, but there's a lot of love for Bill.
Right.
On Instagram and TikTok.
Well, we've got a big family, Das.
It's always good. Righto, few questions for Kev. This one actually is quite on topic of Bill, but do you think Billy should start, or is he actually better and more impactful coming off the bench?
Well, yeah, again, a lot depends on this week, what happens, with Ben Hunt. He can start games, he can finish games, he can play. So that's the luxury that the Broncos have. Corey Pakes has done a great job starting for the Broncos. I feel he gets them out of the blocks well. So, yeah, I think that both of them have done a terrific job, as a tag team partnership this year. It's some teams have the luxury of, one hooker being able to play the 80 minutes, which is okay, and it does save an interchange. But also, if you've got a little combo going that those two have, I think it works really well for 100%, the team.
Yeah, bit of injection when it's needed. Yep. What do you think Wayne Bennett would be telling his injury-depleted Rabbitohs?
Well, just to stay in the fight. You've got to keep fighting. They've had some injuries this year, and I faced that myself as a coach. Confidence starts to wane, and you feel like the whole world's sort of against you. That's how they be feeling. So it's up to the coach to try and rally, the support and get them up each week, but it's not an easy task. Be interesting to see how their season goes. They get a couple back next week, post Origin. I think they're on the bye. Are they on the bye?
I'll quickly check. They are on the bye. So Manly, the Rabbits, and the Raiders all have the bye next week.
So they're on the bye, it's very timely for them. I think that's only their second one as well, or third. They've
got a couple up their sleeve.
They've got a couple up their sleeve, but that's a very timely one for them. Maybe they can get some guys back from injury, get Latrell back from Origin commitments, and then, they can set sail for home. They can still make the 8, but they just got, they've got to start winning.
I was just having a look. So Manly currently in 8th position on 20 points, Rabbitohs in 16th position on 14 points. So only 6 points out of the 8.
Right. And
they have the bye.
They've got 2 buys up there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, 2 buys and Jagger win. There's just 6 points. So anything can happen. You sort of answered this question just before, but do you think the Broncos should be resting the likes of Payne and Paddy after?
No, I think they've got good momentum. And again, see what happens on Wednesday night. Provided they come through healthy, I'll be running them all out on Sunday against the Titans.
Yeah, beautiful. Are the Dogs still favourites with this drama with Galvin, and can they compete with
Well,
the
I
top?
don't think they've ever been the favourites. I think the favourites generally have been the Storm all year.
Yeah. I think even the Raiders. Well, for me, I'd probably put the Raiders above the Dogs as well.
Yeah, well, I would.
Yeah.
Certainly on current form. And the Raiders have got a pretty good run home as well. Yeah, I think the Storm are the favourites, certainly. The Bulldogs will be there in their... They'll make the top 4, the Bulldogs. Yep. It's just a matter of then, what happens through the final series.
What do you think is the biggest difference in Billy's game this year compared to last year?
I don't think there's a whole lot, really. Just the team, I guess maybe coming off the bench has been good for him. But, last year was a tough year for everyone at the Broncos, and no different for Billy. I think the football he's playing is back to 2023 when, he was...
at his best.
At his best, yeah, and very consistent every week. So, Yeah, we're all enjoying watching him play and doing what he does. It's great to see. We're really happy for Bill.
Absolutely. Do you think that Broncos win is equivalent to the Broncos away win versus the Warriors in 2023?
Yeah, well, it's similar circumstances. There was a Bulldogs game as well in 2023 without the Stars. Look, it was definitely a good win. You've got to win this time of the year, particularly with your players away in Origin and injuries. So that was probably the most important thing, rather than how the win was, just get the win. If they'd have won, well, it was a tight game anyway, but if they'd have won 6-4, it would have been still just that the confidence that you get from winning those games, regardless of how you do it, is always a big thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And the last question, Kev, probably the most important. When's the Inside Ball merchandise coming out?
Well, we've got some more. Do we need some more?
We might. If people are listening, let us know in the comments section. What do you want to see?
What do you want to see? Do you want to see some hats? Do you want to see a better shirt than the one I'm modelling here at the moment? Well, I'll tell you what wouldn't be a bad idea. I like the flannel shirts.
Yep.
I saw someone the other day and with the flannel with the team colours and the brand.
Yeah.
So that might be something we can do. What do you think? Let us know.
Yeah,
we'll get them out there for you.
We can get Inside Ball jerseys made up.
We can do that as well.
I actually saw, I don't know if you saw the Ipswich Rugby League Club, I think, bringing out a retro jersey, and they had, at the time, they were sponsored by KFC.
Right.
But they've replaced the Colonel's face with Alf's face. I don't know if you've seen that. I have to show it to you.
I haven't seen. Yeah, well, I remember those KFC jerseys.
Yeah.
My brothers played in. That was the old state cup, and Kentucky Fried Chicken used to sponsor the whole competition.
Yeah.
So,
geez, that's
big
dangerous.
Colonel
Did
on
you
the
get
front.
any free chicken? Or?
No, well, I was only, no, I didn't get any. I wasn't old enough to eat chicken. But, yeah, look, good times for the Jets. And that's a great old, they'll sell them.
Well, maybe we could do jerseys with Dobbo's face on it or something.
No, we won't be doing that.
No, thanks very much, Kev.
Now, Das, we're going to do a special Origin.
Special guest for the Origin game on Wednesday.
Yeah.
Me.
Yes. No, but we're going to do a special Origin because it's a decider.
Yeah, big game.
Big game, so we're going to allocate some time to that. I think it's really important that we, get into the nitty-gritty of the Origin game. Game 3 in Sydney. It's very hard to win away, but you know what? I think the Queenslanders can do it.
Me too.
And in the podcast, I'm going to explain why.
Exactly right. Yeah, this is a longer episode for our Monday show, so we thought we'd leave the Origin stuff out and do a special app on Wednesday for it. So stay tuned for that. We'll be back Wednesday, but thanks very much, Kev. Cheers, guys.
There we go.